This is huge. The Habs and Leafs face off for the first game of the regular season tonight. So you're not going to want to miss this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we get into that, we just want to say if you're one of the thousands of people watching that aren't subscribed, make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button, become a part of the Hat Trick HQ community, because me and Mark will be here all year round, keeping you up to date on what's happening around the league. But with that said, let's get right to the first topic of the video today, and that is the Leafs need this. And as we take a look at the projected lines for tonight's matchup against Montreal, it's obviously kind of similar to what me and Mark had been discussing over these past couple of months. The top six kind of remains the same, with Minton obviously the surprise out of the preseason, making that third line with Nyes and Yarncroke. And Noah Gregor actually got signed yesterday to a $775,000 one-year deal coming off that PTO. And obviously, their starting goalie tonight will be Ilya Samsonov. And Mark, I know me and you are both juiced up for this game. This is going to be such a good game to start the season. Going to be a really close game, I think, in my opinion, because they always are. I think they usually go to OT. But Mark, what do you think about this Leafs roster going into opening night?
I'm really liking this, especially. You kind of look at it, the top six, we kind of knew this with Nylander sliding back. Domi moved his way up. The top line with Matthews Martin, we knew Bertuzzi was going to go in here once Bunting did exit, and we did acquire Bertuzzi. So I am excited about this. The third line is going to be the most interesting to watch. It's going to be really determining on how we can expect Minton to play, especially going in game one against such a big rivalry. Gregor being signed, I love this signing. He adds the speed, a tiny bit of scoring, and just overall just a good aspect of his game to that fourth line. The defense looks good, and then Samsonov was going to be the starter. I think we all pretty much knew this. When he got hurt, we got a little worried, but once he came back, we were all fine. So overall, I think this Leafs team looks strong. It actually looks like one of the stronger teams that we've had in opening night in quite some time. So I'm expecting a lot of this, not just tomorrow or in tonight's game, but just overall in the season, with just how much they added, what they've taken care of, and I think they're going to have a very strong season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a great game tonight. Like you said, this Leafs fourth line is going to probably be the most watched fourth line in all of hockey this year. Obviously, you got Ryan Reeves down there. Gregor kind of impressed us in preseason. He's got the speed and to kind of add to that fourth line. Obviously, Camp's a great centerman, can win those draws. I think you throw that line out there, and like we've said before, people are going to be leaving the ice with ice packs on that night. I think it's just going to be such a great game. I think this Leafs roster, like you said, is one of the best we've seen on an opening night, and it just makes it so much more interesting that they got these two rookies on this third line that could really go out there and have a breakout season. And like you said, this top six obviously is one of the better top six in the whole entire league, in my opinion. Adding guys like Domi and Bertuzzi was huge, like we've talked about here on the channel. I think adding this grit will definitely help them edge out some teams. I think adding those big bodies that are just going to go in there and crush you in the corners is going to wear down on teams over time. And I know this Toronto team in the past has kind of been a third period team, and I think right now, if you got these guys coming at you and smacking you all game, it's only going to help them excel more in the third period.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you get physical with teams early on and you drag it into the second, when you get into the third, the teams are going to come out, they're going to be sore, they're going to be gas. They might shy away from corners and stuff like that. And having guys like Bertuzzi, Domi, Nyes, and Mitten have kind of been doing it, and especially Ryan Reeves. You almost have that guy on each line that's going to just kind of punish you in the corners, throw their weight around, be a pest. So I do like that aspect. I think they're going to come out guns blazing. The top six does look a little different this year. I think that's going to be where most of the scoring does come from. But this game, especially, I'd keep an eye on the third line. I can't stop talking about this enough. I think they're going to show a great impact on this game. And it's not just going to be like, oh, they're going to go out and put a 4 point game between all of them. I think it's going to be a situation where you're going to see hard forechecking. They're going to hem the Habs into the zone. And I think even if it's not on the score sheet, I think this line's going to be dominant, especially right out of the gates.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. And I don't know if you guys got to see the Sobies and Practical Jokers that the Leafs put out there a couple days ago, but Marner and Matthews were rocking the PB&J hat. I think this connection is going to be lethal for the Leafs all year, and just seeing those guys have such great chemistry, obviously teammates for many years now, I think they're just going to have such a great season. I think Marner definitely hits 100 points this year. But one of those guys who was in that video was Morgan Riley, and he did come out with a statement saying, "Our group is not taking anything for granted. It starts Wednesday night. It's not hard to keep your focus at all in this league. With how good the teams are, how good our division is, I don't think it's challenging to stay motivated. And obviously, Mark, when you have one of your guys out of your leadership core coming out and saying this, it just makes you feel so much better for opening night, because you know the guys in the dressing room are motivated. They really want to go out there and show what they're worth, and show that they can go out there and be cup contenders.
Yeah, and the big thing is you kind of look at this Atlantic division as a whole. You've seen Buffalo take this big step. Detroit looks a lot better. The Sens look like such a well-rounded team now where they have good goaltending. They brought in Tarasenko. They did lose to Brinkat, but overall they filled out the scoring. So you're seeing a lot of these younger teams take this next step. So you can't really take it for granted. You still have your teams like Boston and the Lightning that are going to make an impact. But you have these smaller teams, not smaller, sorry, these teams that were just out of the playoff contenders where they're going to start pushing for the playoff. They might take a wild card spot. They could move up, take points from your team. So you can't really take it for granted and just kind of screw around in these games. You need every point possible. I think the Leafs are going to be pushing for the President's Trophy. They obviously want to be the top in the East to get the home ice advantage. So I think you come out gun swinging, just get this game going right away and just try to win it.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you. Like you said, this Atlantic division, I think, is going to be the closest division in the whole NHL. All these teams have a chance to kind of crack the playoffs. So I think it's going to be a really tight-knit battle throughout the year. It's going to be fun to watch, but keep you interested in hockey all season long, because your team or other teams are going to be constantly moving up and down that Atlantic division leaderboard. But we're going to get into the second topic of this video, which is obviously this will be huge for the Habs. And as we take a look at the Habs roster here, this was put out by Eric Ingles. Obviously, the top six is kind of what we expected out of the preseason as well, with Caulfield, Suzuki. I know Anderson moving up to that top line is a bit unexpected. We were expecting Monahan, but Anderson had such a great preseason. He deserves to be up there. Obviously, the new hook, Doc and Slav on the second line is going to be great. And the newly added Tanner Pearson on that third line, I think, is going to add a lot. We got those three vets down there on that third line that could come out and have a great year. And then you got the rookies down on that third line, or not rookies, but the young guns, I guess you could call them. But we do have, take a look at our defenseman here, obviously Eric Ingles, one of the best Habs insiders. If you're not following him on Twitter, I'm going to give him a shout out. Go follow him right now. We got Matheson and Savard, Goulet, Kovacevic, Harris, and Jack-Eye. But he says in this tweet that Jack-Eye and Harris will switch sides. And we also got a quote here from Marty St. Louis saying that Allen will be the starter, saying of all evaluations, I feel like Jake gives us the best chance to win tomorrow for that game. Monty will be a big part of our success this year. Monty knows that I believe in him. And Mark, obviously, this Habs roster, I think it looks pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I know you might say a Habs fan bias here, but I do really think this team could go out and surprise a lot of people. They got a lot of young people, a lot of young players that just want to prove their worth in this league, prove what they can do. And I think it starts opening night against Toronto. Obviously, the last couple of years, I think Montreal kind of edged them out in the season opener. So I think it's not going to be a blowout tomorrow night for any team, but I think it will be a close game. It will be a fun watch. Definitely a great one to watch for the opening night.
Well, you've seen the Habs, they kind of added guys like Newhook looks new on this team. He does look good. You have a guy like Anderson moving up to the top line, and Tanner Pearson does fill out the third line. I think the Habs are going to be a team kind of fighting for a contending spot in the play-in. I don't think they're going to get it. I think they will finish bottom of the Atlantic. That's just not me being a Leafs fan saying it. But overall, the team is improving. You're seeing them go through this rebuild. The lineup's starting to reshape. You have a lot of young guys making the league, making their impact. You have a couple of veterans that you could flip. I think they're going to be a competitive team. I don't think they're a team that's going to really be a playoff team or really just be in the race of it. I know I said they could be contending, but it's more or less. I think they could put some hard fought battles against teams like Toronto, Boston, Tampa, but I'm not sure if they're a team that can really hold this together to make the playoff run.
I think it all depends on their goaltending. I think if their goaltending remains solid throughout the years, I know as a Montreal fan, we were so used to having great goaltenders, a great goaltender for the last decade in Carey Price, and now that he's kind of gone, it's kind of all up in the air right now. Montembeault looks great. I think he can be a good starter in this league. Obviously, Jake Allen is a proven goalie in this league. I think he will have a great game tomorrow night. He always seems to have a vengeance against the Leafs when they do play him, because he just plays lights out. But I do really like this roster. I think, like I said, a lot of people aren't predicting them to be good this year, but I think they have the motivation, and I think they have the right coach in Martin St. Louis who can who has the right mind for coaching these young players and developing them into great players in this league. And I think it do all start with tomorrow night, because this is huge. Because if they win tomorrow night, I think it just starts them out on the right foot. They got that energy, they're fired up, and they just have a great start to the season.
Well, I seen last year they started off hot against the Leafs, and if they won the game, it didn't really matter. But overall, I think is good motivation. I think they will be competitive. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's a playoff team. I am excited for the Arbor Jack guy and Ryan Reeves fight that will either happen tonight, or if it happens later on the season, that's bound to happen. I think that's going to be a heavyweight fight. It's going to be a good matchup. The Leafs and Habs games always do bring just excitement. They're always just high pace, high physicality. We've seen it during the preseason as well. So I think this is going to be a must-watch game. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting, especially with a rivalry. Like I said, you're going to have Leafs playing Boston, the Red Wings. Teams like this, I think it's going to be exciting, but this one's definitely a watch.
Yeah, this season is definitely going to be exciting. I know me and Mark are definitely going to be pumped up in the basement, throwing some chirps back and forth at each other tomorrow night or tonight when the game comes on. We're so excited to get the season underway. I think just making these videos, Mark, has got me more excited for the season. And the NHL is back. Last night, obviously, we've seen some great games. It's just great to have hockey finally back on the TV. But I'm gonna talk about here now what some Leafs fans might not want to hear, and that is the overall record against Montreal, and that is Montreal with 366 wins and Toronto with 299 losses. Mark, obviously, I know this goes back to, probably way before we were even thought about our great grandparents' days, or even farther back than that. I know this has been a rivalry that's been going on for many years. I know this doesn't really impact the game tomorrow night, because in my opinion, the Leafs do have the better roster, obviously. But I do think it'll make it for great media. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a big thing. It's always going to be big headlines watching this game. It's two rivalries. They're playing against each other, opening night for them. It's outstanding. I wish this was the first game of the season. I know they had to get Vegas in there, Pittsburgh with Bedard. It's this kind of situation, but I think that's one of the biggest rivalries in the NHL. I think the opening night should be rivalry night. I think that'd be super fun to watch. Just get everyone juiced up, start the blood boiling between the boys, and just all this situation. But like I said, it's going to be a good game. Things I'd look out for is, like I said, the Leafs' third line. This is going to be an impactful game for them. It's just a big standout if they can do it. If they can't, then you might see this line split up in the next two or three games. And just the rookies on the Habs, you need to kind of just watch these guys, see how they perform, and see can they make the name for themselves in the league. Obviously, you have a guy like Caulfield and Suzuki that are cemented, but a guy like Newhook is fighting for this top six position. You have that fourth line of just the younger guys trying to fight for the Habs as well, and a guy like Barron trying to make this impact into the roster. So you might see him slide in if someone takes a step back as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think both of our teams are going to be fun to watch this year. Even if the Habs don't win as many games as you want, obviously this team is rebuilding, but they could have a chance to maybe sneak a few wins past a couple of rivals throughout the year, and that will always keep the Habs fans happy. And obviously, we'll see what happens tonight in the game. I think it's going to be a fun watch, like I said. It's just going to be great. I'm just going to express my feelings right now that the first game of the year shouldn't be Nashville versus Tampa. What is that? Like, come on, who made that decision? But it was a great game to watch, I'm not going to lie. But I think it should be a rivalry night, like Mark said. But we're going to get into our next topic here, and that is our predictions for the game. And Mark, what are you thinking? What are your predictions for the Habs versus Leafs tonight?
My honest opinion, 6-1 win for the Leafs.
That's I can't see that happening. I'm thinking I'm more leaning towards a 3-2 overtime win. I don't know for what team. I want to say Montreal with a Cole Caulfield overtime winner, because it seems like the last couple of years it's been to overtime during opening night, and we're all down in the basement and got to wake up for work the next day, and it's going into overtime.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I don't know if it's actually 6-1. It really depends on this. We've seen a lot of close games between these teams, but there's a lot of momentum with this Leafs team. They have just such a thing to prove. You've seen last year they lost in the second round. No one was happy. They added these new additions like Bertuzzi, Reeves, Domi. They've added so much in the lineup. You have this rookie line as well. I think they're going to come out, try to make an impact. I could see this whole thing where Morgan Riley said you can't take anything for granted. I think if the Leafs can come out and get 2 or 3 early goals, I think it's going to be foot to the floor for the full game. And if it does kind of stay close, I could definitely see an overtime.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you. It's going to be a fun watch, like we said. Competitive game, always great to start the year. So make sure to tune into the game tonight because it's going to be fun. And I'm sure most of you guys watching this are going to tune into the game tonight. But let us know down in the comments who you think's going to win. What are your predictions? Let us know. But we're going to get into everybody's favorite topic here, and that is obviously comment of the day. And the comment of the day goes to Mike. He says, KC, stop cheering for the Habs. You're making us look bad. Mike, I love you. Thanks for your support, but I'm never going to stop supporting the Habs. Obviously, I've expressed on this channel that I do enjoy the Leafs as well, just because of my family members and friends are mostly Leafs. But like I said, when the Habs are playing the Leafs, you know who I'm rooting for. And tonight, I'm going to be rooting for Montreal. Mark's going to be rooting for Toronto. I'm going to probably be the only Habs fan in the basement tomorrow night because one of our buddies moved away. So I got a 2-on-1 situation tomorrow night. So if the Habs lose, it's not going to be fun. So hopefully they win. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers, so we really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy the Leafs and all the NHL and Montreal, make sure to check out this video. Pop it up on your screen right now. But I've been KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.